Hey, and welcome back. So as we wrap up usability testing, I want to go through a few do's and don'ts of actually running the test. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So to start out with, what you want to do is reassure the user. Let them know we're not testing you. If it's hard or difficult, it's our fault. Because it is, in all reality. If your product is difficult to use, your users aren't dumb. Right? It needs to be easy enough for a 6-year-old to use. It needs to be easy enough for anyone to use within limits, right? I mean, there may be certain fields or industries that you're dealing with that you wouldn't expect a 6-year-old to be able to use it at all. But in most cases, anyone should be able to figure it out if they can read. Okay. Ask the user to think out loud. This is something we talked about in the last video, but it's crucial to getting that qualitative feedback and really understanding the emotions of your user, which is super powerful, not only for you, but if you share the recording with any stakeholders in your organization to really drive home the point of why a certain thing sucks if you're testing existing features in your product. But it really it just gives you a deeper level of understanding of the user's pains or their good feelings about what you've done. Make sure you read the task or send it through a chat. So it really just depends. Sometimes I've done both. Sometimes reading the task is good because it's more obvious what's going on. Um, and the user likes to hear your voice, but that can be detrimental too because you really don't want to talk any other time in the session. So what I like to do is send it through chat and try to tell them beforehand, hey, when you feel like you've accomplished the task or you're done with the task, just say I'm done or I'm finished, and then I will message you the next task. Okay, be patient. You may think it's easy to do what you're telling them to do, but it doesn't matter what you think, it matters what happens, right? So let the user struggle. You want to understand very deeply how much of a struggle it is or how easy it is, right? You want to know the truth. Give very few audible remarks. Don't say, um, uh, don't do anything that shows the user they're on the wrong track or anything that tells them they're doing a great job. You want to be kind of an emotionless bystander, just letting them go through the task. Okay. Take notes. Um, Try to put yourself on mute if you're doing this remote through screen sharing. Put yourself on mute, take notes. You are recording it, but it's good to capture things in the moment that, you know, doing things in real time, you may see or feel things differently than when you're watching a recording. So make sure you take notes. Make sure you do video record the test. If you're doing a screen share prototype test, if you're doing in person, still try to record it. It may feel weird being over somebody's shoulder with the video camera, but you need to you need to get it recorded. If you are doing a screen share and the user is willing to turn their video on so you can see their face, that really helps with the emotional aspect of trying to understand their feelings. Not only will they think out loud, but their face typically doesn't lie. Even if they don't say it out loud, if they squinch up their face like it's really painful or they're confused, you'll get that on video. Okay. Stick to your test plan. Don't deviate from it, right? Because put the time and the effort in. So from the previous video, put time and effort into actually creating the plan and then stick to it. If you deviate, it'll mess things up. It'll throw you off and it won't feel as smooth to the user. Okay. Interview at least 5 people, right? So uh, Don Norman, one of the you know, godfathers of UX or forefather, whatever you want to call him, right? Um, he's been on the record to say, like for usability testing, you need to, interview at least 5 people to get an understanding of if your software is usable. But what people know less of is the fact that he said at one point that it should be 5 people per segment, right? If you're a B2B product and you serve healthcare, manufacturing, construction, tech companies, and you're only performing usability tests on one person per segment, that's not sufficient. You would need, 5 people from construction, 5 people from healthcare. And so if you're going to focus on one segment, make sure all 5 of your users come from that same segment. Okay. And then ask questions after the interview. If you have follow-up questions, sometimes I like to ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your experience? Is this something that you would enjoy using? I would ask some of those qualitative questions at the end to get just like an audible survey out of them right there on the spot after, the emotions are fresh from what they just went through. Okay. Now, things you don't do. Don't tell the user what to do. That defeats the whole purpose of this test. You want to see if it's usable, not if they can follow very verbatim instructions, right? Don't make negative comments during the thing. Remember, you just told them that we're not testing them, we're testing the software. So don't make them feel like they're doing something wrong, because they're not. They're just trying to figure out what you want them to do. And don't guide the user, right? So we don't want to be explicit about telling them what to do, but we don't want to guide them either, right? We don't want to give them any kind of assistance or help, because in reality, they're probably using your product when they're, in a personal setting where they're using it by themselves, and they won't have a guide there to help them. Your product needs to be easy enough for them to figure out. And don't be overly specific if they ask you questions, right? Users all the time will say, is this what you want me to do? Is this right? Am I doing this right? Any variation of that question. And the answer that you should give them is, thank you, you're helping us identify what we're looking for. That may sound like a very weird way to word it. And if you can come up with a less weird way to word it, go ahead. But the intent is, you're helping us figure out what we're trying to identify, or what you're doing is very helpful for the test. Okay. So we don't want to say that they're doing it right or they're doing it wrong, because in reality, there is no right or wrong in this. They're helping us figure out what we're doing wrong. And you don't tell them that, but just tell them, hey, you're helping us figure out what we're trying to figure out. Okay. And then don't answer the user's questions directly. And you don't want to taint what they're doing or future steps in the task, right? You want them in the mindset that they're helping you, that you're not testing them. So reinforce that thing that you started with at the beginning of, we're not testing you, we're testing the software. Reinforce that with your answers as you go. All right. So now that you understand what usability testing is and why we do it, now that you've created a plan and you have prototypes at this point, right? Now you can actually run the usability test, follow these do's and don'ts, make sure you record them, and then assess. Is your product usable? Okay, you've set success metrics. Have the test proven that they can complete the task and they can complete them in a reasonable amount of time, right? If the answer is yes, then move on to the next set of videos, right? If not, iterate on it a little bit and try to take the feedback you got from the test, make it easier, and then go back to them or to a new set of users and have them run through the usability test as well. Okay. If you say that's crazy, I don't have enough time for that, well, maybe not for this course, but that's what you want to do in real life. Once you do land a product job, if you're in charge of usability testing, you may have someone in the company who is in charge of UX research or UX design who's going to own usability testing, but you should be very much part of this process in helping design the test, come up with the success metrics, because you need to be a part of the UX conversation along with your UX team if you have one. If you don't have a UX team, then this is your job. Okay, so the practice is good, learning how to iterate is good. So whether you decide to iterate from where you're at now or you decide to keep moving forward, I will see you in the next session on feasibility, where we decide this is what we want to do. We know it's usable. Now, can we actually implement it in the time frame that we have with the given constraints on resources that we have? Because we only have so much time and we only have so many people to work on things. So we have to figure out, is it feasible to implement with those constraints? I'll see you there.